I recently had the chance to go to the Sphere in Las Vegas and watch U2 live. It was an incredible experience. And I want to talk about it from a church leader's perspective of what I believe church leaders can learn from Las Vegas's Sphere and how you can incorporate it into the life of your church. So let's dig into the Sphere and what you can learn as a church leader from the experience that I had there at the U2 concert. Hey, if we haven't met yet, I'm Nils Smith, your social media guide, and I primarily help churches and ministries maximize social media to accomplish their goals. And this video is going to be a little bit different as I'm looking at a physical experience that I had, but it does incorporate, and you'll see, into social media a little bit. But I just had such an incredible experience at the Sphere that I believe there's some key lessons that church leaders can take away from that experience and apply it to your church and how people experience your church both in person and online. The first lesson that I believe church leaders can learn from the Sphere is intentionality. The intentionality of communication before I even arrived, with emails that would give me detailed instructions of where I should go, what I should expect, what to think about or prepare for, what I shouldn't bring and what I should bring with me, was so valuable and important. So that intentionality of communication was huge, but then also the intentionality of the hallway and the way it was decorated, the way even the signage pointed me in the right direction. It wasn't hard to find. It obviously stands out, but you know exactly where to go for ticketing. And then when you go through the ticketing experience and when you walk into the room, it was very clean. It was very intentionally, there was minimalist in the way it was set up and the way even the booths were set up to buy merch and to buy refreshments. It was just so intentional in the entire environment, from communication beforehand to that arrival, even to that intentionality into the seat. And so intentionality was such a key aspect that I think as churches, we often just assume people are going to show up, assume people are going to know where to go, assume they're going to make it to their seat. But the more intentional we can be in every environment, from communication to the hallway to the front doors to the sitting in their seats, is so meaningful in the experience that someone's going to have. And so I think there's a lot that church leaders can learn from that level of intentionality and prioritizing that and just being thoughtful. That intentionality will go a long way in the environments and experiences you create for people that are visiting your church for the first time. The second thing that I thought was fascinating is the intentionality of engagement prior to the concert. And so I'll just say engagement here for that second piece of engagement prior to the event. And so when you think about somebody coming, maybe 10 minutes early to your church service and they're sitting in their seat, what do they do? What are they seeing? What is the environment? And there at the Sphere, they had a DJ that was there and they were playing music, kind of getting the crowd going. And that was a fun environment. It didn't steal from U2, it just prepared you for U2. They had a very minimalist screen design that created curiosity of what the screens could do, but it wasn't flashy, it wasn't over the top, it didn't take away from the environment that was to come, but it prepared you for what was to come. And they even kind of had some Easter eggs in there, not literal Easter eggs, but they had like a fake bird that was flying around on the screens that you would sometimes see, and it would catch your attention. That thoughtfulness, that intentionality in the engagement prior to the event added to the environment so much. So that intentionality they had in communication and environment when you're walking in, to the engagement they had prior to the concert starting, added to the event significantly. And so, yeah, that's a key takeaway that I think churches need to think about, is what are you doing pre-service to engage people and prepare them for the worship experience they're about to have. The third lesson that shouldn't surprise anyone when it comes to the Sphere, because so much of it is all about the screens, and it's one giant screen along kind of the back wall, but it is, how are we using our screens in our church services? So maybe you just have kind of two iMags on the side or two screens on the side, or maybe you have a full LED back wall, but what are you using those screens, and what intentionality are you putting into those screens? And one of the things that Bono said in the middle of the concert is, this is a mix of art and science with how they're using this technology of these screens. And it was just that. I mean, it was beautiful, visuals that were on there, and then they were really using that technology and the art being put together very beautifully. And I think with our screens, sometimes we just do it very functionally to put words on the screen, and we don't put a lot of thoughtful creativity into the imagery that we can actually engage people around, that will immerse them deeper into that worship environment or deeper into the sermon that they're hearing. And so being thoughtful around that technology and adding that artistic element can go a long way to better engaging people. And I saw that so significantly there at the Sphere, but I don't think it's limited. You don't have to have a big 16K or whatever it is, massive screen to do this. I think you can do this with whatever screens that you have integrated into your worship environment. The fourth thing that I thought was very interesting that they did is they encouraged phone use. So often you hear people say when they come to environments, please put your phones away. But when they encouraged phone use, basically everyone pulled out their phones and they made sure they had high-speed Wi-Fi there in the venue so that people could be live posting on social media. And what that naturally does is create FOMO. And so if you've been on social media the last 6 months, you've probably seen somebody that's been at the Sphere that's posting about it on social media because it is so interesting and it is so just immersive in the environment. And by them just even saying, we want you to post this, it invites people to do that on social media. And in our church environments, we want people to be engaged there, but we also want them to talk about what they're engaging with so that others can hear about it and learn about it and experience it. And so I think we need to be better encouraging people to pull out their phones in church, posting about it on social media rather than just put your phones in your pocket and be present here. We want you, of course, to be present here, but we also, it doesn't hurt if you pull out your phone during, one moment to make sure you capture something to invite others as well. And so it's an and game, not an or game. And I think we can maybe be more intentional to encourage social media engagement into our church services rather than discourage that kind of engagement. And so I don't want to end this video just with the great things they did. I think there's some lessons that I learned from them that I would discourage you from doing. One is they started late. I think it was frustrating. You could even feel the crowd like, okay, we're tired of the DJ. It was cool for a little bit, but we want you to start on time. Start when you say you're going to start. One was the exit was really poorly managed. It was so slow to get out. And when you're done, you're ready to go home. You're ready to go back to your hotel in that situation. And so I think at the end of the day, make sure people have a good entrance into your church services, but make sure they also have a great exit experience. Be intentional and thoughtful about that exit experience. And the other thing that I experienced negatively about it is I thought they actually overdid the lighting effects. I think the screens were awesome, but some of the lighting was just too much. And maybe it's just because I'm in my 40s now and I'm like, oh, maybe not so bright, maybe not so loud. I thought the audio was incredibly well done, but I thought the lighting was just a little bit too much sometimes and a little bit overwhelming, but that might be a personal opinion. But I do think that as a guy who loves great lighting, I think sometimes we can overdo it and just flashing lights in people's eyes can just be annoying sometimes when it's overdone. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. The last thing I want to note is while this was an over-the-top media type of experience, we don't need to do that all the time in our churches. I think we can learn from their communication. I think we can learn from their intentionality. I think we can learn from their environment and engaging. But sometimes I think we need to just keep things simple and just get better steadily rather than just create this crazy Taylor Swift-like, U2-like experience in our churches that everyone's gonna have FOMO from social media. I think we're gonna have really good, thoughtful, intentional, consistent experiences in our churches. The reality is it was a cool experience with U2, but I don't feel like I need to go back. I feel like I experienced it. I checked that box. And I think we want to create environments that people are going to want to come back to on a consistent basis. And so while I think there's lots to learn from U2 in the Sphere, and while I'm glad I went, I'm so thankful for my friend who gave me the ticket and invited me to join him at the event. I do want to say there are things that it's like this U2 and the church and the Sphere are different things. And so I think there are lessons we can learn, but we don't need to fully imitate and we don't need to have a church Sphere out there. I think we can take some of the lessons we learn from environments like the U2 concert at the Sphere and learn from them, but be who you are, be who we are, and let's create great environments that people want to come to and people want to come back to and engage into the life of our church through.